The real war of our time isn't fought on battlefields, it's fought in your mind. Negativity is everywhere, and if you don't protect your peace, the world will steal it before you even notice. Your peace is a candle in a storm, fragile yet sacred. Every insult, every headline, every toxic voice is trying to blow it out. But here's the truth: peace isn't weak. Peace is power under control. And the moment you learn how to guard it, the world will roar, but you will remain unshaken. Look around you. Negativity doesn't only live in arguments, it lives in subtle places. It shows up in the endless scroll of social media, where bad news spreads faster than hope. It hides in conversations that drain your spirit instead of lifting it. It disguises itself as normal when friends gossip, when family members pour their unhealed pain into you, when workplaces demand more than they give. And without realizing it, you carry these weights home. You carry them to bed. You carry them in your breath. Negativity is like secondhand smoke. Even if you're not the one holding the fire, it poisons you slowly. That's why protecting peace isn't a luxury, it's survival. You can eat healthy, exercise daily, and chase every success the world promises. But if you don't protect your peace, you will still feel hollow. Peace is the foundation of clarity, of strength, of love. Without it, you're a house built on sand, collapsing every time the storm arrives. With it, you are unshakable not because the storm stops, but because you stop giving the storm permission to enter. Some will call you selfish when you begin to guard your peace. They'll say you're cold, detached, unkind. But remember this: protecting your peace isn't shutting people out, it's refusing to let everything in. You cannot be the dumping ground for everyone's chaos. You cannot be the sponge for every frustration, every wound, every bitterness others project. If your peace is a sacred home, then boundaries are the doors. Not everyone is meant to walk through them. But here's the promise I give you. In this journey, you won't just learn why peace matters, you'll learn how to defend it. In the next few minutes, we will explore 3 defenses that no negative world can pierce. First, the boundary that blocks noise. Second, the silence that saves energy. And third, the focus that rewires your day. These are not abstract ideas. These are shields you can use right now. And once you learn them, you'll notice something extraordinary. You won't just survive the noise. You'll walk through it untouched. Take one example, right here, right now. Think of your phone. How many notifications drag your attention into things that don't add to your peace? Disable one today. Just one. A group chat, a news alert, a meaningless ping. Do this and notice the quiet that enters. That's not small, that's a micro defense. That's how peace begins, with a choice so small it seems invisible, yet powerful enough to change the rhythm of your day. This is what it means to build a wall around your calm. Peace does not shout. It doesn't demand recognition. It doesn't compete with chaos. Peace waits quietly for you to choose it. Every time you refuse to argue, every time you take a breath before replying, every time you walk away instead of engaging in drama, that is you protecting your peace. No applause will come. No one will thank you for it. But your soul will breathe, and that breath will be the beginning of freedom. So let this be clear. Peace is not surrender. Peace is not weakness. Peace is strength restrained. Peace is fire mastered. Peace is you writing your own story while the storm rages outside. The world will not suddenly grow gentle, but you can grow untouchable. And when you do, your calm will not only protect you, it will inspire others to find theirs. There comes a moment when you realize that your peace is not stolen in one dramatic event. It leaks slowly, drop by drop, through the cracks where you never drew lines. Boundaries are not walls. They are not cold, harsh punishments for the people in your life. They are the quiet declarations that say, "This is where my peace begins, and this is where chaos must end." Think about it. How many times have you said yes when your heart was screaming no? How many times have you listened to conversations that left you drained, not enlightened? How many times have you allowed someone else's anger to spill into your silence simply because you didn't want to seem rude? Each moment chips away at your calm until you no longer know why you feel so restless at night. It is not always the big storms that destroy you. Sometimes it's the constant drizzle, the endless drops that soak your spirit until you can no longer feel dry. Boundaries are the umbrella. They are the roof you choose to build so that storms don't seep into every corner of your soul. Yet most of us are taught that boundaries mean rejection, that saying no is selfish, that choosing yourself means abandoning others. But nothing could be further from the truth. Boundaries are not cruelty. They are clarity. They tell the world how to love you without wounding you. Here's the paradox. When you set boundaries, the wrong people will be offended, but the right people will be relieved. Because those who love you don't want your exhaustion, they want your presence. They don't want you saying yes out of guilt. They want you showing up out of wholeness. The ones who resist your boundaries are usually the ones who benefited from your lack of them. And that is your test. Do you continue shrinking to keep them comfortable, or do you expand into the truth of your worth? The first defense against negativity is not withdrawal, it is definition. Definition of your limits, definition of your needs, definition of the treatment you will no longer accept. Imagine your peace as a garden. Without a fence, anyone can trample it, pull at its roots, or plant weeds among your flowers. But the moment you build a gate, not everyone loses access, only those who refuse to respect what you've grown. Boundaries are not about exclusion, they are about protection. But let's make it practical. How do you build this defense? Start small. The next time someone demands an explanation for why you are unavailable, resist the urge to over-explain. A simple, "I'm not able to," is enough. Every time you cut down the excess words you use to justify your peace, you strengthen the gate. Or consider your energy. If certain people leave you feeling heavy after every conversation, limit your time there. You don't need to announce it, argue about it, or make a speech. Quiet boundaries are still boundaries. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable at first. You may tremble the first time you say no to an invitation that doesn't serve you. You may feel guilty the first time you choose rest over obligation. But remember, guilt is the ghost of your old habits. It will fade. Respect will remain. And as you continue, you will notice something remarkable. Your peace begins to hold, no longer dripping away, no longer fragile at every request, but steady, strong, rooted. Boundaries are not just lines for others. They are reminders for yourself. They remind you that you cannot keep pouring from an empty cup. They remind you that self-respect is not optional if you want peace that lasts. They remind you that every no you say to chaos is really a yes to your calm. So let this be the second truth on your journey. Peace doesn't survive without boundaries. You cannot guard a candle in the wind if you leave every window open. You must choose what enters, and you must choose what stays out. It is not unkindness. It is not arrogance. It is authorship. You are writing the rules of how you will be treated. And in doing so, you are protecting the only sanctuary that is truly yours, your inner stillness. There is a power the noisy world doesn't understand, a power so quiet that most mistake it for weakness. That power is silence. In a time when everyone is speaking, shouting, and demanding to be heard, silence becomes a weapon not of destruction, but of protection. It is the moment you realize that not every voice deserves an answer, and not every battle is worth your energy. Silence is not emptiness. It is strategy. It is wisdom. It is strength clothed in calm. We have been conditioned to believe that we must always defend ourselves, always explain, always prove our side. But have you ever noticed how much peace you lose every time you engage in an argument that never had the potential to change anything? You repeat your truth to someone committed to misunderstanding you. You pour your energy into a fire that only grows hotter the more oxygen you give it. And when the exchange is over, nothing has changed except you feel emptier. That is the cost of unnecessary noise. Silence, on the other hand, is not surrender. It is refusing to hand over your calm for the sake of winning a debate that cannot be won. It is choosing to walk away, not because you are weak, but because you know your spirit is too precious to be dragged through mud. It is knowing that the moment you stop defending your worth shines brighter on its own. Think about gossip. Every time you join it, you absorb the negativity it carries. Every rumor whispered is like a seed planted in your mind, a seed that grows into distrust, suspicion, restlessness. But when you choose silence, when you refuse to feed the cycle, you break the chain. You protect your mind from stories that were never yours to carry. Silence becomes a shield. It is saying, I will not be a vessel for poison. Withdrawal, too, is a form of silence. Sometimes the greatest act of strength is simply stepping away. You don't always need to make an announcement when you choose peace. You don't need to slam doors, write speeches, or prove your reasons. You can simply leave the argument unfinished, leave the space that drains you, leave the circle where your spirit feels smaller. Walking away is not defeat, it is declaration. It is saying, my energy belongs elsewhere. But silence is not just absence, it is presence. It is the presence of mind that comes when you choose to listen instead of react. It is the presence of clarity that arrives when you stop defending yourself and start observing others. In silence, you hear the truth that noise covers. You see patterns in people's words that reveal who they are. You notice that most arguments were never about you, they were about wounds in others they haven't healed yet. Silence unmasks what noise tries to hide. And here is where peace grows stronger. When you no longer feel compelled to explain your every choice, when you no longer rush to prove you are right, when you no longer waste hours fighting shadows, you find that you have energy again. Energy to build, energy to create, energy to nourish yourself. Silence doesn't just protect peace, it multiplies it. Make this practical. The next time someone tries to bait you into an argument, pause, count your breath, ask yourself, if I stay silent now, will anything important be lost? 9 times out of 10, the answer will be no. Or, when you are tempted to join a conversation steeped in negativity, remind yourself, every word I add becomes weight I must carry. Then, choose silence. Watch how quickly peace returns to you. Understand this. Silence is not for cowards. It is for the courageous. Anyone can raise their voice. Anyone can shout louder. But it takes strength to hold your peace when provoked, to stay centered when insulted, to let go of the need to prove. That is the art of being untouchable in a noisy world. So let this lesson settle within you. Silence and withdrawal are not escapes, they are shields. They are the armor that lets you walk through storms without being soaked in chaos. When you choose silence, you are not losing. You are conserving your strength for battles that truly matter. You are refusing to let the world drain what is sacred in you. And as you master this art, you'll notice something extraordinary. The world grows quieter, not because it changed, but because you stopped feeding the noise. Peace cannot survive on avoidance alone. You can draw boundaries. You can choose silence. You can walk away from the storms, but eventually, an empty space must be filled. Because if you don't choose what to pour into your spirit, the world will pour its noise back in. Protecting your peace is not only about guarding against negativity, it is about deliberately feeding yourself with what sustains you. Think of it this way. A garden does not remain beautiful simply because you keep weeds away. It thrives because you plant, water, and nurture it. Your soul is no different. Negativity loses its grip not just because you reject it, but because you replace it with nourishment words, practices, and people who strengthen rather than drain you. Consider the impact of voices around you. If you surround yourself with constant criticism, your peace will weaken, no matter how strong your boundaries are. But if you choose voices of encouragement, stories of resilience, teachings that remind you of your worth, you build an inner library of strength. The mind echoes what it repeatedly hears. That is why feeding it wisely is the deepest act of protection. Nourishment can take many forms. Sometimes it's solitude, sitting quietly with a book that shifts your perspective instead of scrolling through arguments that rot your focus. Sometimes it's nature stepping outside, letting sunlight touch your skin, reminding yourself that the earth has rhythms larger than your worries. Sometimes it's connection, spending time with people who bring laughter instead of judgment, with those who see your light instead of competing with it. Negativity is not only external, it also hides inside. The inner critic, the voice that tells you you're not enough, can be louder than any insult from others. Protecting your peace means feeding your inner world with gentleness. It means replacing harsh self-talk with compassion. Not every mistake needs punishment. Sometimes it needs patience. Not every failure requires shame. Sometimes it requires perspective. But nourishment is not passive. You don't stumble into peace by accident, you cultivate it by choice. That means creating rituals that ground you. Maybe it's journaling in the morning before the world wakes up. Maybe it's praying or meditating, letting silence clear the clutter of your mind. Maybe it's walking, moving your body until your thoughts loosen their grip. Whatever it is, the act of choosing to nourish yourself becomes a daily rebellion against the negativity that tries to invade. Here is the truth. A mind starved of nourishment will always return to chaos. That is why so many people feel trapped in cycles. They remove toxic habits, but never replace them. They quit gossip, but fill the silence with fear. They leave toxic people, but spend their nights scrolling through envy-inducing images. Avoidance without nourishment is still emptiness, and emptiness is always hungry. Peace is sustained not by what you push out, but by what you invite in. Practical steps matter here. Ask yourself, what voices am I listening to daily? Do they uplift me or exhaust me? Audit your surroundings with honesty. Remove one toxic source and replace it with one nourishing one. Unfollow the account that fuels insecurity and follow one that teaches gratitude. Step back from the friend who thrives on drama and lean toward the one who listens with kindness. These small shifts build an invisible armor around your spirit. The beauty of nourishment is that it multiplies. The more you feed yourself peace, the more natural it becomes to protect it. The more you practice gratitude, the harder it is for bitterness to take root. The more you choose calm practices, the quicker you notice when chaos tries to enter. Nourishment builds resilience. It makes peace less fragile, more rooted, more lasting. So let this be your next truth. Protecting your peace is not only about shutting the door to negativity, it is about opening windows to light. It is not only about walking away from noise, it is about walking toward music that heals. It is not only about saying no, it is about saying yes to what fills you, because peace is not just defense, it is construction. It is a daily building of an inner sanctuary that negativity cannot reach. Negativity will always try to test you. Even if you build boundaries, choose silence, and fill yourself with nourishment, the world will still send moments that provoke you. A harsh word, a careless insult, an unexpected betrayal. All of these knock at your door without warning. And in those moments, the question is not whether negativity will arrive. The question is, how will you respond? Most people let emotions lead the way. They react instantly, throwing anger where anger was thrown, returning insult for insult, hurt for hurt. And for a fleeting second, it feels like justice. But afterward, peace is gone. The energy you gave away cannot be returned. Your mind replays the argument, your body tenses, and your spirit feels unsettled. This is the hidden price of reaction. You trade lasting calm for temporary release. But discipline changes everything. Emotional discipline is the art of pausing before you act. It is the gap between what was done to you and what you choose to do next. In that gap lies your freedom. Negativity may push at you, but your response decides whether it enters your spirit or dies at the door. Think of fire. If someone throws a spark at you, you can either catch it and build a blaze, or you can let it fall harmlessly to the ground. The spark cannot burn you unless you feed it. That is what emotional discipline is: refusing to fuel what was meant to consume you. This does not mean you suppress your feelings. Suppression only buries anger until it erupts in bigger ways. Discipline is not denial, it is direction. It means acknowledging your anger but choosing not to let anger speak for you. It means feeling the sting of betrayal but refusing to let bitterness decide your path. It means noticing the temptation to lash out and instead breathing long enough to remember who you want to be. Every reaction is a choice, and every choice writes your peace or erases it. The moment you shout back, you hand your calm to someone else. The moment you argue endlessly, you let the world dictate your energy. But the moment you pause, even for a breath, you reclaim control. That breath may be small, but it is sacred. It says, "I will not be mastered by this moment." Practical mastery begins with awareness. When negativity strikes, your body reacts first. Your pulse quickens, your voice rises, your hands shake. That is your signal. Instead of letting the wave carry you, notice it. Ask yourself, if I respond now, will it protect my peace or destroy it? If the answer is destruction, stay silent. Let time be your ally. Most arguments fade when they are not fed. Another step is reframing. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "What does my response say about me?" Negativity reveals more about your inner state than about the world outside. If you can remain calm when provoked, it means your peace has matured. It means your spirit is stronger than the chaos around you. That is true power, not the ability to control others, but the ability to master yourself. Remember, emotional discipline is not coldness. It is not pretending that nothing touches you. It is courage under control. It is strength that chooses not to waste itself. The loudest person in the room is not always the strongest. Often, the strongest is the one who stays calm, who refuses to let their emotions be puppets for someone else's drama. Over time, this mastery reshapes your life. Arguments that once drained you no longer move you. Words that once cut deep now glance off like rain. People who try to provoke you begin to realize they have no hold on your peace. And you discover something rare, serenity that no one else can take. So let this truth sink in. Peace is not found in avoiding every storm. It is found in learning how to stand in the storm without letting it bend your spirit. Negativity will come. But when you master your response, it stops being your prison and becomes your teacher. Every test becomes proof of your strength. Every pause becomes a declaration that you choose yourself over chaos. Peace is not just a comfort. It is not just the relief of a quiet evening or the absence of conflict. Peace is the soil in which the soul grows. Without it, your spirit cannot expand. Without it, your vision cannot clear. Protecting your peace is not a small act of self-care. It is the foundation of who you are becoming. Think about the times in your life when negativity ruled your mind, when chaos circled your thoughts like vultures, when arguments lived rent-free in your chest, when anxiety became the rhythm of your days. In those seasons, could you hear your inner voice? Could you dream clearly, act bravely, or love deeply? No, because peace is the condition in which the higher parts of you can come alive. Without it, you shrink into survival. With it, you begin to create. That is why protecting your peace is more than emotional hygiene, it is spiritual evolution. It is the difference between staying trapped in cycles and rising into new ones. The soul cannot stretch in noise. It requires stillness, the kind of stillness that lets you listen to the truths buried inside you. When you guard your peace, you are not just avoiding stress, you are creating the environment in which wisdom can whisper. Notice what happens when peace is absent. Every reaction is sharper. Every word wounds deeper. Every problem feels larger than it truly is. Chaos magnifies everything. But when peace is present, the same problem shrinks into its real size. The insult becomes a test, not a sentence. The setback becomes a detour, not a dead end. Peace doesn't remove pain, but it gives you eyes to see pain differently. And in that shift, the soul grows. The world trains us to measure strength in battles won, in trophies collected, in arguments silenced. But real strength is quieter. It is the ability to protect an inner stillness so deep that the world cannot reach it. That strength transforms not only your mood, but your destiny. Because every decision you make from chaos will lead to more chaos. And every decision you make from peace will build a future that aligns with your highest self. Protecting peace is also about reclaiming authorship. When you let negativity write your story, you become a character reacting to everyone else's script. But when you hold peace steady, you pick up the pen. You decide the tone, the pace, the direction. And slowly, the chapters of your life begin to reflect who you truly are, not who chaos tried to make you. This is why reflection is so powerful. Reflection asks, what do I want my life to sound like? Do I want it filled with endless noise, with every passing voice carving lines into my spirit? Or do I want it to sound like a steady rhythm, a melody of clarity and calm that carries me forward? Protecting your peace is choosing the latter. It is saying, I will not let the soundtrack of my life be written by negativity. I will compose it myself. But let's bring this closer. Protecting peace is not abstract. It shows in the smallest moments. When you forgive without needing to reconcile, you protect peace. When you let go of the urge to prove yourself in an argument, you protect peace. When you choose to pause before reacting, you protect peace. Each small act builds into a pattern, and that pattern becomes the environment where your soul can grow. And here is the deeper truth. Peace is not only for you. When you protect it, you radiate it. Others feel it in your presence. Your calm becomes a refuge for those drowning in their own storms. Your steadiness becomes an anchor for those searching for ground. The soul does not evolve in isolation. It evolves in connection. Protecting your peace means offering the world a healed version of yourself, one that can inspire healing in others. So let this reflection settle. Peace is not the end goal, it is the pathway. Protecting it is not just about surviving negativity. It is about creating space for the soul to awaken, for wisdom to rise, for love to deepen. The world will always be noisy, but you were never meant to carry its noise inside. Protecting your peace is protecting your evolution. And in that evolution lies the true art of living. And so, after everything, the boundaries, the silence, the nourishment, the discipline, the reflection, what remains is the truth that peace is not fragile, it is fierce. It is not a luxury, it is your lifeline. You do not protect it to escape the world. You protect it so you can finally live fully in it. Without peace, you survive on instinct. With peace, you rise with intention. This is where your journey comes full circle. You began in a world filled with noise, in a culture that praises conflict and rewards chaos. But somewhere along this path, you realize that noise does not have to define you, that every insult, every betrayal, every toxic demand does not have to live inside you. Peace is not the absence of storms. It is the discovery that storms can rage, and yet your flame can still burn, steady and untouchable. Think back to all the moments when you lost yourself in arguments, when you drowned in overthinking, when you let the negativity of others drain the light out of your day. How much did it cost you? How many hours did you spend rewriting conversations in your head, defending yourself in imaginary trials, doubting your own worth because someone else could not see it? That was the tax of unprotected peace. You have paid it before. You do not need to pay it again, because now you know. Protecting peace is not selfishness. It is self-respect. It is saying, my calm is sacred. My spirit is not a battleground for your chaos. My energy is not available for every storm that passes. And the moment you live this truth, you will notice the shift. Negativity may still knock, but it no longer enters. Opinions may still rise, but they no longer define you. The world may still roar, but you remain grounded in a silence that feels like freedom. This is the paradox of peace. It looks soft, but it makes you unbreakable. It looks quiet, but it carries the loudest message. When you protect your peace, you no longer fight for validation. You no longer waste your strength proving your worth. You simply embody it. And that embodiment teaches louder than any argument ever could. But let's make this real. The next time someone tries to provoke you, remember this journey. Remember that boundaries are not cruelty. Silence is not weakness. Nourishment is not indulgence. And discipline is not denial. They are the pillars that hold your calm. They are the structure that makes your inner sanctuary unshakable. Protecting your peace is not a one-time choice. It is a daily practice. Every morning, every conversation, every decision is another chance to declare, I will not lose myself to noise. And when you slip, because you will do not mistake it for failure, even protectors stumble. What matters is the return. What matters is remembering that peace is always waiting, like a home you can step back into. No matter how far you wander, you can always choose it again. That is the beauty of peace. It does not punish, it welcomes. So as this journey closes, hold on to this final truth. Peace is not passive, it is active. It is an act of courage to protect it in a world that profits from your unrest. It is an act of rebellion to build calm in a culture addicted to noise. And it is an act of love for yourself and love for the world you touch. Because when your peace is strong, your presence becomes healing. Others breathe easier around you. Others feel safer near you. Protecting your peace is never only about you. It is about the ripple it creates. Imagine a life shaped by this choice. A life where your calm outlasts conflict. A life where your silence speaks louder than anger. A life where your joy is not borrowed from circumstance, but built from within. That is the life you are building each time you guard your peace. That is the legacy you are writing, not one of endless battles, but one of quiet strength. So take this final step. Choose peace as your foundation, your compass, your inheritance. Guard it as if your life depends on it, because it does. And let the world see that in a time of endless noise, you carried stillness like a crown. You walked through negativity without letting it stain you. You became the keeper of calm, the author of peace. And in that choice, you did not just survive this world, you transcended it.